It's Impossible to Sneeze with Your Eyes Open. Written by Putinator. You know that split second when you sneeze and your eyes close? That moment just as the sneeze leaves your nose and your eyes can only do one thing: close. Only for a second, but in that uncontrollable moment, you cannot see anything. You can only see blackness, and you no longer have any idea of what is around you, or maybe what is coming towards you. I was sitting at my desk at work, half thinking about what I was going to do after work and half focusing on filling out the reports that were due a few hours ago. I felt a slight tickle in my nose, but I ignored it and passed it off as allergies or hay fever. I continued to type away at the reports on my computer, but the tickle in my nose began to feel stronger and stronger. Before I knew it, I was on the verge of letting out a large sneeze. I felt the sensation travel up through my nose, and I let out a large sneeze. My eyes snapped shut as the sneeze exited through my nostrils, and when I opened them, only a split second later, I could have sworn that I saw a small, wrinkled hand on the other side of the office. The hand flashed up, and before I could really process what it was gone again. It appeared to be just a hand floating in the air, not attached to an arm or to a body of someone. Just a solitary hand floating in the middle of the office. At this point, I didn't really think anything of it. I thought that it was just a weird hallucination, just something that had come from within my mind, my own imagination. That was until later that day I sneezed for a second time. The second sneeze of the day came just as I was leaving work and crossing the car park, on the way to my car. It came out of nowhere. I think the pollen that came from the flowers that surrounded the car park was what caused me to sneeze. Once again, my eyes closed, because whenever my nose needed to sneeze, my eyes felt that they needed to close. The world turned to black, just for a second, before I opened them again and looked out across the almost empty car park. There it was again. The small, wrinkled hand from before. This time, however, I noticed a small marking on the hand. A mole, maybe. Perhaps a small tattoo. It didn't matter really, because the other thing that I noticed was far more troublesome. The hand had moved. It had moved slightly closer towards me, closer towards my face. I didn't sneeze again for the rest of the day. Maybe because I just didn't need to, or maybe because I had tried to stop myself from doing it again. I went to bed that night trying to push the events of the day out of my mind. I tried not to think about the hand and the fact that it appeared to be moving closer towards me. I laid in bed for a while, maybe around an hour, trying to push these thoughts out of my mind, and eventually I managed to convince myself that it was my own mind just playing a trick on me. Somehow, the act of sneezing had made me see something that wasn't really there. I woke up early the next morning after having a fairly peaceful sleep. I slept the whole way through the night, and I even managed to not have any dreams about sneezing or about floating hands. I didn't really think much of what had happened the previous day, and the strange events had actually begun to be forgotten. I had a nice warm shower and dried myself off before getting dressed into a white shirt and pants ready for the long, hard day at work. The last thing I had to do before I left was make breakfast. As they say, it's the most important meal of the day. I had gotten up a bit earlier than usual, so I decided that I did have time to make myself a nice hearty meal to start off my day. I cracked 2 eggs into a frying pan, letting them slightly cook before turning them over and adding bacon to the pan. Both the eggs and the bacon cooked nicely, and before long I had both the eggs and the bacon sitting on my plate, steaming and ready to be eaten. I took a bite of the egg and enjoyed the nice warm egg white that I had bitten into. It just needed one thing though: pepper. I went to the cupboard and grabbed the shaker and poured a little bit onto the eggs. As soon as the pepper left the shaker, however, I felt the unmistakable feeling of a sneeze building up inside of my nose. The sneeze was loud and fierce, and the noise traveled through my kitchen. My eyes were forced closed, forced into darkness. When they reopened, that's when I saw it again. The hand, inside of my own kitchen. It only appeared for a second before disappearing. Achoo! I sneezed again. The pepper was really playing havoc with my nose. This time, when my eyes opened once more, the hand was there again. Only this time it was a little bit closer to my face. This time, I again noticed the small mark on the wrinkled hand. Only this time I could see exactly what it was. It was a small tattoo of an anchor. I did recognize this tattoo, but I couldn't remember where from. I didn't have much time to think about it though, because another sneeze was already brewing, just waiting to be let out. This time, the hand was only about a meter away from my face. Its fingers were now outstretched, like it was reaching out towards me, wanting to grab a hold of my face. I let out a fourth sneeze, and when my eyes opened again, the hand was only a centimeter away from the front of my face. The hand's long and bony fingers were now reaching out in front of it. As soon as I saw the hand this close towards me, I jumped back and away from the fingers that were almost touching me. This is when I heard it. The low-pitched, gruff voice that said the words that I hadn't heard for a long time. Got your nose. I hadn't heard that saying for a very long time. I know that almost every child has had at least one experience of an adult reaching out and grabbing their nose before being told that the adult has their nose. For me, this would be a common occurrence when I would go over to Mr. Furch's house. Mr. Furch was a middle-aged man that lived next door to me and my mother when I was just a kid. I was around 6 or 7 when we lived next to him, and sometimes he would babysit me if my mom was at work and I was not at school. Whenever I was over at Mr. Furch's house, he would play a game of Got Your Nose. He would reach out and grab my nose and then say these words, and I would laugh, like it was the funniest thing that I had ever experienced. I vividly remembered his hand traveling towards my face. I would stare at his small anchor tattoo that was on the top of his hand, and I would wonder how he managed to get a picture inside of his own skin. I didn't see Mr. Furch that often, maybe once or twice a month. But that was enough for me to notice when he was gone. Mr. Furch moved away after about a year of visiting his house every so often, and I never saw him again. I never really knew where he went, and when I had asked my mom about it, she said that he had moved on to another place not far from us. As a child, this was a good enough explanation as to where he had gone. But now that I had grown up a bit, there was more to know. Especially now, as I was seeing his hand floating near me every time that I sneezed. I quickly drove to work, worried that I might be late because of my sneezing fit that morning. I managed to get to my desk and fire up my computer just as the clock ticked over to 9 o'clock, the time that I start. I log into my computer and I click on the spreadsheet to begin work for the day. I work for about 10 minutes, but the urge becomes too strong. I must find out more about Mr. Furch. I opened up Google and I searched for Mr. Furch. I remembered that his first name was Arthur, so I typed Arthur Furch and clicked enter. The top result was a news article from 4 years ago, and the title read, "Serial Killer Dies in Prison." I apprehensively clicked into the news article and began reading, hoping that it wouldn't turn out to be that Mr. Furch was a serial killer. It did, though. I read through the entire article, and it was revealed that Mr. Furch would kidnap young men, 19 to 20 years old. He would keep them hostage for a few days before finally killing them. In every case, the body was found with severe facial mutilations, like he had removed parts of his victims' faces before killing them. The article showed that he had died in prison just over 4 years ago. This made me feel some relief. How much damage could a dead man's hand cause? If this hand did even really exist. I made it through another 4 hours of work, focusing on the jobs that I needed to get done that day. At lunchtime, I headed to the break room. A fairly small room with a large white table in the middle of it. I sat down at one of the tables, and just after I had finished sitting, I looked up and saw a small pot filled with assorted flowers. I tried my best not to let the sneeze out right away, but instead I tried to hold on to it. This really didn't work, and only around 20 seconds later, the urge to sneeze was unbearable, and so I let it out. The sneeze erupted from inside my nose, and my eyes closed momentarily. I opened them again, and the last thing I remember was the hand coming towards my face, grabbing it, and then me falling backwards as the darkness clouded my vision. That's led me to here. The hospital room that I have been occupying for the past few weeks. I still haven't gotten used to my new look. It will require a lot of adjustment. It is extremely difficult to adjust to a change in your appearance, especially a difference as big as this one. I look across the room and towards the mirror on the other side of the hospital room. I look at the face staring back at me, but I don't recognize it. I am used to the reflection looking back at me not to have a large gaping hole in their face, right where my nose used to be.